Hey there, ladies and gents, this is Past Spazzy here. I'm about to be recording the background video that you're about to see for this episode. I am going to be using this chance to create a new character that is going to help me establish all the other characters, but let's face it, one, you probably don't want to see another setup episode, you already saw two of them, and secondly, the things I want to talk about important enough where I cannot really focus by talking about this and talk about things at the same time. So, Future Spazzy is going to take it from here, and just, you know, feel free to just put this video in the background. I really am not doing anything worth of interest here, but the creation of this character is going to be vital for the future episodes, so yeah. Hey there guys, Spazzy here aka Syndromes, and welcome to episode number 4 of our Discovery Freelancer Let's Play 2021. Although, technically speaking, this is more of a epilogue to the previous episode, because I really wanted to talk a little bit about what's currently going to happen to Baron Brono, and also trying to explain why you're not going to see this character in-game for the next few episodes. So technically speaking, this is more like episode 3.1. Yeah, let's just call it video number 4. Yeah, there we go. Welcome to video number 4. So yeah, the current situation is very simple. For those of you who don't play Discovery Freelancer, the situation is very simple. There are two ways to interact with players on this server. First of all, you have the in-game chat, with, you know, the actual in-game presence of these characters, the way that they interact, all the fighting, all the trading, etc, etc. This is good for simplistic encounters. Now, if you want to have something a little bit more in-depth and in detail, which also would require a lot of writing, that is a good reason to go to the forums, and that is exactly what has happened to Brono's interaction with the Liberty Marshals. As you already saw in the previous episode, the culmination of this SOS, the discovery, the taken of this character, well, not hostage, but more like, you know, detention of this character, has led to them leading him into a interrogation center on planet Manhattan. And that's what's currently happened. Down in the video description, I'm going to put a link to that ongoing forum roleplay. At the time recording this video, there's only a few posts, and you'll notice that since, you know, forum roleplay is just slower paced than the instantaneous sort of thing on the, you know, server in-game, then obviously this is going to take a while. The situation right now with the character is simply that until I finish this forum roleplay, I'm like actually logging it in-game, and undocking from Planet Manhattan would be not smart, and it's not really going to give us anything much. So I will have to create a new character, or a couple of characters, not only because, hey, this is something that I wanted to do even before this happened, but simply because currently this character is a little bit off limits. Now, as for the details about the situation itself, they are pretty self-explanatory. For some reason, I kept saying that Brono is, you know, a redemption arc character, and I think in hindsight, I've been using that term a little bit not rightly. Instead, it's more of a standard case of the grass is greener on the other side sort of affair. So, again, TLDR, the character's current situation is that they were a part of the very old Liberty Rogues, and actually I made it so that he is a part of the Liberty Rogue player faction that I used to be a part of back in 2008. So, you know, something that I know that I can roleplay out with all the details and all the names of those characters, because XD, I've been a part of it, but I made sure that this character is not in any way connected to the, quote, elite part of that group. In other words, it was just the favorite bartender of Sylphid, who was Reverend Dell, an admin at the time, and his character was the now named war boss or, crime boss of the Liberty Rogues. And so the way that I presented this story so far in that thread, by the way, if you don't want to read that, which is completely fine, fair enough, is that the character, as he was flying with these people, he has obtained a fairly sizable amount of credits, which, once that group kind of dissolved, allowed him to live very freely, very comfortably on Alcatraz without having to engage in any of the rogue actions that would usually describe the factions, such as attacking civilian targets, getting into skirmishes with the local law enforcement, etc. He was completely sheltered from this, even as he was before, when he was, working as a bartender. And this amount of money that he has received, he has been able to kind of use to go back to that old life and live a relatively simple, relatively sheltered, easy life. But that money has ran out. And this is where this current situation kind of starts. Essentially, the way that I wanted to describe this is that the character himself is in no way remarkable when it comes to piloting ships or any of the skills that would be relevant to all the currently portrayed characters that are on the server. Again, it kind of goes back to my personal headcanon as to how rogues operate in general, and one of the things that I really wanted to explore back in the day is the mechanics between the rogues, or, well, any criminal entity in the Syria sector, and the Bounty Hunters Guild. Because, I mean, it really doesn't make sense, on paper, that a bounty hunter would go after, high-profile targets, and why the bounty hunting in general is such a relatively, busy sort of occupation, busy sort of group. Like, there's a lot of bounty hunters, and you'll notice that they are portrayed as ex-criminals. And one of the things I really wanted to do at some point in my time in Disco was kind of explore that mechanic on an actual character, and I think that Baron Brono is going to allow me to do that. It's exactly that sort of story. It's a rogue who has decided that, attacking high-profile, dangerous civilian targets such as large traders belonging to companies with billions upon billions of credits behind them is, one way to make a living. But you know what are easier targets? These frickin' rogues that he sees flying around, because rogues have a hierarchy. Rogues, the way that I portray them, and the way that my headcanon works with the Liberty Rogues is kind of simple. You have big fish in that little pond, for example, and all of these tiny rogues, like these NPCs that you can kill with like 2 shots, they are nobodies. Those are people who happen to end up getting broken out of interstellar prisons simply because someone else was breaking out something else. So we're talking about inter-prison ship convoys, prison convoys, transferring prisoners. Someone gets broken out by, someone is a high-profile target, they get broken out, and these guys kind of hitch along with the ride, so to speak. But of course, they need to pull their own weight if they want to actually survive as a Liberty Rogue, and that's why you have so many very inexperienced pilots flying around in dinky little, very badly made ships with, well, little to no weaponry, so, you take what you get. And those are the characters, those are the targets that Bim Bam Brono would actually go after if he retained the possession of this, if he retained the possession of the ship that he stole. Because the way that I want to portray this is that our maximum, our PvP-centric ships that we currently fly in Disco, they basically are the elite fighters. Like, even the info card describes them as elite vehicles driven by highly skilled pilots. And since this is more or less the way that everyone portrays their characters in the game, I think it's going to be funny to have basically a low-level NPC sort of character obtain this ship and simply use it against other low levels, so that's how I'm going to portray it. Now, at this point in time, I am not exactly sure how is this going to end for Brono, by the way. I think that the current situation is very simple. Either he gets, dumped into Liberty as a quasi-lawful character, so, a freelancer. He might actually go full bounty hunter as well, or he might even end up joining one of the, strictly lawful groups, which is going to be kind of amusing considering he speaks like a rogue and he acts like a rogue and he's basically a rogue, so, that could be also one of the outcomes. But yeah, so needless to say, I didn't really talk about this much because I had very high hopes that this would actually go as I wanted to, and it has for the most part. But even if Brono would have failed in his attempt to get, a good interaction with the Liberty Lawfuls, I still had, contingency plans of what would happen if I had to, leave Liberty because of, something stupid happening. But yeah, there's a lot of ways that Brono can actually pan out. I am going to be very interested in this character as soon as I can fly it again. I'm going to seek out those interactions. But right now, welcome to part 4 of this video. This is where the video actually begins. But right now, I'm actually more interested in setting up a character that is going to help us actually make money. Now, the B-roll video behind you, well, in front of you right now, is actually, something that I recorded some time ago, or at least, this is, as I'm narrating this is being narrated after the fact, and this is essentially going to be my credit-making character. This ship has no real meaning on what I'm going to create after the fact. I'm going to be keeping this character simply, anonymous, just for the fact that I don't want to specifically roleplay this character. This character exists just for the sake of making money. And I'm going to be using those credits to make the next batch of characters. And that is pretty much my current idea. Now, needless to say, I do have quite a few ideas for other characters, and one of them is actually going to be a returning character, which is probably going to be the first thing that I make. But overall, I think that this first character is a complete success. I am very much interested to see where it goes from here, and I think I have enough material for him to actually make it into a compelling, interesting character, no matter what the actual, result of that the interrogation thread is going to be. It's nice to have one, but I'm not putting my eggs into one basket. I have a contingency plan as to what would happen if I had to abandon it, but yeah, basically that's it. Anyway, this was a kind of explanation video. You will notice that, again, the video in the background has nothing to do with this. I am just talking over it. I want to kind of keep you up to speed as to what is actually going on as I'm, doing this. And yeah, that character is going to fuel the character that we create in the next episode. And yeah, I will see you then. This is Fancy, aka Syndromes. Fly safe.